If North Korea is a jail for its people, then there is no doubt that Kim Jong Un is the jailer of this jail. Kim Jong Un is everything for North Korea. Kim Jong Un is the master, professor, principal, and he is also the student. If Kim Jong Un is minister, president, then he is also opposition leader. He is a rule maker and he is also the rule breaker. He is a military commander, scientist, engineer, barber, plumber. He is the shopkeeper and he is also the customer. He is a fashion designer and he is also the fashion model. He is the police and he is also the criminal. He is the constitution, judge, advocate, lawyer. If he is legislative, then he is also executive. And last but not the least, he is a religion and he is also the god. Means he is everything for North Korea. North Korea is a poor country but it has huge army. North Korea has roughly 25.97 million population. Out of this, 1.28 million are active in military services, which is the fourth largest in the world. North Korea does not have sufficient food to feed its population, but this country has sufficient nuclear weapons to destroy the whole civilization of the world. Kim Jong Un, the supreme leader of North Korea, diverted all the resources toward its military instead of its 2.5 crore people. What a masterpiece Kim Jong Un is. On one side, where the other countries sign on global map for their research, development, innovation, trade and commerce type of good reason. But on the other side, North Korea shines on the global map for military provocation, a clandestine nuclear program, a bankrupt economy, an atrocious record on human rights, and an eccentric leadership. Sometimes he threatens America by his nuclear weapons, sometimes he fires missiles towards Japan, and sometimes South Korea. North Korea and South Korea are the two nations of the Korean Peninsula born at the same time, but the gap between these two countries in terms of development is like the gap between the Mars and the Jupiter. On one side, North Korea is totally isolated from the world, and on the other side, South Korea keeps contributing in the progress of the world by its research, innovation, and developments. The government of Kim Jong-un does not tolerate pluralism. Kim Jong-un has banned independent media, civil society organization, and trade commerce. He has systematically denied all basic liberties, including freedom of expression, public assembly, associations, and religion. Fear of collective punishment is used to silence dissent. The authorities of Kim Jong-un routinely send perceived opponents of the government to secretive political prison camps in remote regions where they face torture by guards, starvation, ration, and forced labor. The government of North Korea systematically extracts forced unpaid labor from its citizens to build infrastructure and conduct other government-ordered campaigns in public work projects. The government do not protect their rights of numerous risk groups like women, children, and people with disabilities. The whole world suffered during COVID-19. North Korea also suffered COVID-19 pandemic when the impact of almost 2-year-long COVID-19 lockdown intensified as the country was hit by major droughts and then it was followed by flooding. But the great Kim Jong-un has not taken a single step to advance economic, social and cultural rights of these people. After acknowledging the North Korea's dire economic and food situation, he called for self-reliance and unspecified tightens measures against COVID-19, even though the country was reporting zero positive cases of COVID-19. During COVID pandemic, the authoritarian government of Kim Jong-un responded to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021 with deepened isolation and repression and maintained fearful obedience in the mind of population through threats of execution, imprisonment, enforced disappearances, and forced hard labor in detention and prison camps instead of providing them good and proper treatment. This government extended extreme and unnecessary measures under the pretext of protecting against the spread of COVID-19 by closing its borders and tightly restricting domestic travels as well as distributing of food and other products within the country. Moving from one province to another or traveling abroad without prior approval of the government remains illegal in North Korea. The government of North Korea strictly enforced a ban on illegal travel to China. A buffer zone is set up in August 2020 which extended from 1 to 2 kilometers from the northern border. If anyone enters on this site without permission, the guards have ordered to unconditionally shoot. The guards used to shoot if anyone trying to cross the border. North Korean law states that leaving the country without permission is a crime of treachery against the nation, which is punishable by death. The authoritarian North Korean government does not respect the rights of freedom of thoughts, opinion, expression, or information. All media is strictly controlled. Accessing phones, computers, television, radio, or media content that are not sanctioned by the government is illegal, and it is considered anti-socialist behavior which is to be severely punished. The government regularly cracks down down on unsanctioned media consumption. It also jams Chinese mobile phone services at the northern border and arrests those who communicating with people outside of the country or connecting outsiders to people inside the country. North Korea adopted a law of rejecting reactionary ideology and culture in 2020. Under this law, if anybody watches the media content which is originating from South Korea, the USA or Japan, the law sets out the punishment up to the death penalty or a sentence of 15 years in ordinary crimes prison camps. Speaking, writing or singing in South Korean style, this law can be punished with 2 years or hard labor. In 2021, Kim Jong Un published a letter about dangerous prisons in which he sets out a policy to stop youth of North Korea from adopting foreign speech, hairstyles and clothes. Keeping unsanctioned foreign mobile phones is a punishable offense and a penalties of 3 months or more of forced labor. To sustain its economy, the North Korean government routinely and systematically forces its population for forced labor. The government targets the women and children through the women's union or schools, workers at the state-owned enterprises or deploying in abroad, detainees in short-term hard labor detention centers, and prisoners at long-term ordinary prison camps and political prison camps. The North Korean who perform unpaid hard labor, they often justified by the state as portrayal of loyalty to the government. The punishment for crimes in North Korea is arbitrary and it depends on a prison's record of loyalty, personal connection and capacity to pay bribes. If anybody refuses of a government order to work as a volunteer, it can result in severe punishment including torture and imprisonment. The authoritarian government routinely compel its citizens to join paramilitary labor brigade. The citizens work primarily on building and infrastructure projects where the worker gets 3 to 5 kilograms of rice per month as a salary. North Korea is not the member of the States of International Labor Organization and because of this, it compels for hard labor. North Korea uses Sonbun. Sonbun is a socio-political classification that determines the status of North Korean citizens based largely on their family's history of perceived loyalty to the government. The socio-political classification systems that groups people into loyal, warring or hostile classes and it is used to justify politically determined discrimination in employment, residence and schooling. This Sonbun system is full with corruption where the government official accepts bribes to grant permissions, permit certain market activities or avoid possible punishment. According to Human Rights Watch, North Korea has ratified 5 core human rights treaties, but the government has made no apparent effort to implement these treaties to respect for human rights. In 2014, Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in the North Korea report found that the government committed crimes against humanity, including extermination, murder, enslavement, torture, imprisonment and rape, forced abortion and other forms of sexual violence. This commission recommended the United Nations Security Council refer the situation to the International Criminal Court, but the North Korean government repeatedly denied the committee's findings and refuses to cooperate with United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. In 2021, the Human Rights Council adopted by consensus a resolution extending its accountability effort and mechanism. In November 2021, the United Nations General Assembly Third Committee passed a resolution by consensus condemning human rights in North Korea. In December 2021, North Korea had imposed a strict ban on laughing, drinking and shopping for its citizens for a period of 11 days. This 11-day mourning period has been imposed in the country to mark the death anniversary of Kim Jong-il, the former leader of North Korea. In 2022, a North Korean man was sentenced to death by firing squad by distributing illegal copies of the Korean language Netflix drama Squid Game. The man who smuggled and sold copies of the Netflix shows via USB flash drives, 7 students and an unknown numbers of teachers and administrators were punished in crackdown, facing sentences including life imprisonment and 5 years of hard labor. In 2013, Jong Song-taek, who was the uncle of Kim Jong-un and considered the second most powerful man in the secretive country, he was sentenced to death by North Korea firing squad because he was convicted of plotting to overthrow North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the whole North Korean government. After that, all the direct relatives including children of his uncle was also executed. A 6-month pregnant woman was executed who pointed at the portrait of Kim's second son, who was the founders of the country. Kim Jong-un gave order the execution of homosexual, religious person and North Korean who tried to flee the country. In North Korea, executions are widely carried out for the acts that do not justify the death penalty, including drug crimes, distribution of South Korean videos and religious and superstitious activities. The life of the citizens of North Korea is like the hell or maybe worse than that.